Hey everybody, in this video we're going to cover two recent stories. We've got redistricting in Ohio. Looks like it's not going well there for the Republicans. But first, here it is, Mitt Romney, a U.S. Senator from Utah. He's not going to run for re-election to a second term. It's a little surprising, but he is in his mid-70s. He's calling it quits after one term. He goes on to talk about letting a younger generation step into politics. He criticizes Trump and Biden. We know he did vote for impeachment against Donald Trump. That's made him one of the top enemies of the Trump base, but he also does support the recent impeachment inquiry into Biden. So he's trying to be a more mainstream establishment anti-Trump Republican. And if you're a Republican, you're absolutely celebrating this news. You're looking to get a Senate upgrade out of a deep red state. If you're a Democrat, you are going to be disappointed. You probably saw this guy as a little bit more of a hero, purely on the anti-Trump stuff, but it is a shakeup nonetheless. We'll have to see what happens next. We'll get to that in a second. But here's a poll I put out on my channel 7 months ago. I asked what will happen with Mitt Romney in 2024, only 11% said he'll retire. So to those 11% of the 523 votes, you got this one right. Congratulations. Now let's get on the Wikipedia page. Where are we at? We've got one declared candidate, Trent Staggs, mayor of a local city there. There's a bunch of other politicians that have already declined or are listed as potential. That might change over the next week or two. I know Attorney General Sean Reyes, he was previously potentially looking to challenge Romney in the primary. He has declined. Maybe he decides to change his mind. That would be a high-profile candidate. Other than that, Jason Chaffetz, former congressman, he could decide to come back in. John Curtis, who's already in the U.S. House, he could run for this seat. There's just too many potential candidates to go through, but one other name does stick out. That is Becky Edwards. You might remember her from the very recent special election to the U.S. House, where she came in second in the Republican primary, and she ran against Mike Lee in 2022, but she's viewed as a very light Republican. There's a lot of calls for her as a rhino. Democrats like her because it gives her more of a chance in a red state, so she didn't win the special election. She could run again for it next year, or she could try to get into this Senate race. She has a higher profile now. That would be ironic if Republicans dodged a bullet in that House election, only to somehow see it backfire in the Senate. It's very unlikely, but this is such a red state. Republicans have made it harder on themselves in recent elections. We'll have to see who goes the hardest in the Trump direction. It's probably going to be a weaker candidate in the general election, but given the partisan lean of the state, this still should be a safe Republican hold. If we go down further, these polls are going to be outdated. Romney's out of it. There's too many undecideds. Let's give it at least a month or two, see if anything notable develops. Then we've got the Democrats. As of right now, they're going to be a low factor, but again, we'll check back into this over time. So let's move on to Ohio. Well, the recent story is the congressional maps from the midterms are likely to be used one more time in 2024. You might know the backstory to this. It's not a fun one. It's complicated. There's Republican infighting, but if the same map from last time stays in place next time, that's technically going to be a small win for the Democrats. Republicans were hoping to redraw this map and pick off at least one or two of those seats held by Democrats. So again, all these links will be down below in the description. This is still not even finalized. There's too many technical details, too many districts to cover. But if you go back to 22, Republicans won 56.4% of the statewide popular vote in the U.S. House, Democrats 43.6%. Ohio lost one congressional district from reapportionment. Republicans went from 12 down to 10 seats. Democrats picked up one and went from 4 to 5. And the results are here. Two of these seats Democrats won. They were by about 5 points or so. So if Republicans got to redraw, it wouldn't be too difficult to pick off one or both of those 5-point margin districts. So in the midterms, Republicans were able to win the key state Supreme Court race. They do have a majority on that court that was supposed to enable them to redraw the map. It hasn't really happened. You can see here, this is from today. There's a redistricting commission, and it's already gone nowhere. Per usual in politics, both sides blame each other. And there also is a process underway to have a constitutional amendment added to the ballot for next year in 2024 that would require an independent commission, take away partisan gerrymandering. But as you can see here, this is from last month. The Ohio Attorney General has rejected language for that amendment. Again, feel free to scroll through this. I think eliminating partisan gerrymandering is something that, in a vacuum, both sides can get behind. And I think it should be across the board in all states, but there's still some states out there that do have gerrymandered maps, and in those states, one party or the other certainly does try to fight off any balance or independent commissions. Now, I do admit setting up independent commissions, getting the details right, that can be challenging. Sometimes there's an independent commission, but they still have obvious biases, or it still fails. So there's a lot happening with redistricting behind the scenes. There's still other things happening in Florida, New York, Wisconsin, New Mexico. I do think the Supreme Court should not have allowed partisan gerrymandering, at least in the most obvious cases. Illinois, that always jumps out to me as being the worst map in the country, but apparently that's done in the courts. The worst map is going to stand. There's other bad maps, but I'd like to start there. And as far as Ohio, we'll see what happens, but that's an update as to what's happening with redistricting. We'll have to also see what happens in North Carolina and Alabama, Louisiana. I can't cover every story every time something changes. If something notable happens, if it works out, then I can bring it up. But until everything is resolved, it's going to be difficult to do a 2024 U.S. House prediction. We've got to get these seats settled. So let me know in the comments, what do you think about either of these stories? How about Mitt Romney retiring? What's going to happen in that Republican primary? How big of a blow is this for Democrats there? How about Ohio and the redistricting process? How crazy has this process been? What do you think is going to happen? Let me know down below. On your way out, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Join if you'd like to support the channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.